They say never change a winning team. 15 years, 5 major championships, a bond that started when Rory McIlroy was just 8 years old. And now, days before the Open, the golf world is buzzing with one question. Did Michael Bannon just walk away? This isn't a cold split between a player and a coach. This is a breakup that could redefine Rory McIlroy's career at the worst possible moment. The man who shaped his swing since childhood, who stood beside him through every victory and every collapse, may have packed his bags when Rory needed him most. Here's what we know. Reports are surfacing that Bannon and McIlroy have parted ways, just days before the season's final major. No dramatic press conference, no tearful goodbye, just whispers that have turned into a full-blown storm across golf media. But why now? After 15 years, what could possibly trigger a split days before the Open? And more importantly, what does this mean for Rory's chances at Royal Birkdale? Let me be honest with you. When I first heard this, I didn't believe it. 15 years is longer than most marriages. You don't walk away from that without a reason. But the more I dug into what's been happening behind the scenes, the more this started to make sense. And trust me, what I found will change how you see Rory McIlroy's entire season. So before I break it all down, I want to ask you something. Do you think Rory made a mistake letting Bannon go? Or is this exactly what he needs to finally win that 6th major? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Because over the next few minutes, I'm walking you through everything. The rumors, the truth, and what this means for the Open. The story of how a 15-year partnership may have just collapsed, and what it means for golf's biggest stage. Let's get into it. Let me take you back to when this all started. Not the split, the partnership. Michael Bannon wasn't some high-profile coach Rory hired after turning pro. He was a family friend. He knew Rory's father before Rory was even born. When a chubby 8-year-old with a plastic club showed up at Holywood Golf Club in Northern Ireland, Bannon saw something. Not just talent, obsession. For 15 years, Bannon has been the constant. Through every win, every missed cut, every major, every heartbreak, he never chased the spotlight, never gave interviews about his methods, never tried to become a brand. He just showed up, watched, adjusted, and let Rory be Rory. That's rare in modern golf. Most top players have a carousel of coaches, a putting guru here, a short game specialist there, a swing mechanic flown in for a week. But Rory, he stayed loyal. Bannon was it. The only voice he trusted with the one thing that matters most, his swing. And what a swing it produced. 4 majors by age 25, the career Grand Slam, a record 26 PGA Tour wins before turning 35. When Rory was on, nobody could touch him. That fluid motion, that effortless power, that was Bannon's blueprint. But here's what makes this story so complicated. The same loyalty that built Rory's career may have also held him back. For years, critics whispered that Bannon was too gentle, too much of a friend, not enough of a taskmaster. When Rory's driver went wild, when his putting abandoned him, when he crumbled under pressure, people asked, "Where's Bannon?" The answer was always the same. Right there, quietly waiting, never pushing too hard. Because that's the thing about a 15-year bond. It's not just professional, it's personal. Bannon watched Rory grow up. He was there when Rory won his first major. He was there when Rory cried after losing others. He became family. And now, just days before the Open, that family may have broken apart. But here's the question that's been eating at me, and I know it's eating at you too. Why now? After everything they've been through, what could possibly trigger this split right before the biggest tournament of the year? I'll tell you what I found. And trust me, it's not what you think. To understand what's happening, you have to look at Rory's last 12 months. Because this hasn't been a normal season. He started the year strong. A win at the Dubai Desert Classic, a solid showing at the Masters, but then came the cracks. A missed cut at the PGA Championship that left everyone scratching their heads. A T24 at the US Open that felt like a defeat for a player of his caliber. And then, the Scottish Open last week, where he looked brilliant on Sunday but couldn't close the deal. The stats don't lie. His driving accuracy has dropped, his scrambling numbers are down, and the putter, that old unreliable friend, has betrayed him more times than he'd care to admit. But here's the thing, Rory has never been one to panic. He's always trusted the process, trusted Bannon, trusted that the swing would come back. Only this time, something felt different. In the weeks leading up to the Open, Rory started making changes. Not big ones, small tweaks. He started working more closely with putting coach Brad Faxon. He brought in sports psychologist Bob Rotella for mental clarity. He even had a brief spell with Pete Cowen, A move that made headlines back in 2021, but was quickly walked back. The pattern was clear. Rory was adding voices. New voices. Voices that weren't Michael Bannon. And that's when the whispers started. You see, it wasn't one big blow-up. It was a series of small decisions that led people to wonder, is Rory finally moving on from his lifelong mentor? Let me walk you through the timeline. Because the more you see it, the more it looks like a slow unraveling. Back in May, Rory gave an interview that raised eyebrows. He talked about wanting more ownership of his game. His exact words, "I've always wanted to have full ownership of my swing and my performance." He said he was taking a more active role in leading his practice sessions rather than just following instructions. That might not sound like much, but for a player who has always deferred to Bannon, it was a shift, a subtle signal that the dynamic was changing. Then came the news in June. Rory skipped the Canadian Open, a tournament he's won before, to spend time at Wentworth with Bannon. On the surface, that looked like loyalty, but insiders painted a different picture. They said Rory wasn't there to work on his swing. He was there to have a conversation, a serious one. What was discussed? Nobody knows for sure, but the fact that Rory chose that moment to have a private meeting with his coach, away from the cameras and the crowds, sent a message. Something was brewing. And then, last week at the Scottish Open, the cameras caught something strange. Bannon was on the range, but he wasn't his usual self. He was quieter, more reserved, standing back while Rory went through drills. At one point, Rory seemed to be working on his own, without the usual back and forth with his coach. It was subtle, but the golf media noticed, and they started asking questions. By Sunday night, the rumor had exploded. Social media was flooded with posts claiming Bannon had already packed his bags. But here's the part nobody was talking about, the real reason behind it all. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What could possibly make a 15-year partnership fall apart days before the Open? There are 3 theories floating around, and each one is more dramatic than the last. Theory 1. Rory wants a fresh approach. He's tired of the same drills, the same feels, the same swing thoughts. He's been stuck on 5 majors for too long, and he believes a new voice might unlock the 6th. Theory 2. Bannon is the one who's tired. He's been coaching Rory since he was a kid. Maybe he feels his job is done. Maybe he wants to step back and let Rory spread his wings. Theory 3. This isn't about coaching at all. It's personal. There have been whispers of a disagreement, something unrelated to golf. A clash over Rory's schedule, his commitments, his lifestyle, something that got personal. All 3 theories have been floating around golf forums, Twitter, and the comment sections of every major golf outlet. And honestly, they all sound plausible. But here's the problem. None of them are true. That's right. Everything you've heard so far, every rumor, every whisper, every dramatic headline, it's all been based on one massive misunderstanding. And I'm about to show you what actually happened. Let me give you the facts. Not the rumors, not the speculation, the facts. I went through every credible source from the last 30 days. Every report, every interview, every official statement. And here's what I found. July 12, 2026. That's yesterday. Reports from the Scottish Open confirmed that Rory McIlroy was on the range with Michael Bannon. Not a stand-in, not a replacement. The real Bannon. They were working together, just like they have for 15 years. July 11th, 2026. Rory was leading the Scottish Open at 9 under. He credited his fine-tuned driver to the work he'd been doing. Work done with Bannon. June 23rd, 2026. Rory gave a rare and fascinating insight into his support team. He named Bannon specifically, calling him the foundation of his game. He said Bannon is the person who knows his swing better than anyone. June 16, 2026. The Irish Times reported that Rory chose to spend time with Bannon at Wentworth instead of playing the Canadian Open. He called it his preferred method of preparation for the US Open. May 2026. Rory outlined a new coaching arrangement with Pete Cowen while confirming that Bannon will still be involved. He said, and I quote, "Michael has always been my coach. He's coached me since I was 8 years old. That's never going to change." I could go on. The evidence is overwhelming. Bannon hasn't walked away. He's still there, still coaching, still the foundation. So if the split isn't real, why is everyone talking about it? Why did the rumor spread so fast? And why does it feel so believable? That's the real story. The rumor tells us more about Rory's current state than any truth ever could, and what it reveals is far more concerning than a coach packing his bags. Let me explain what's really happening. Rory McIlroy is at a crossroads. He's 37 years old, he's been a professional for nearly 2 decades, He's won everything except the one thing that truly defines greatness, a sixth major that would put him in the company of legends. He's tried everything: new putters, new drills, new mental coaches. He's even changed his schedule, his diet, his travel routine. But the results haven't come as fast as he'd hoped. And in that vacuum of frustration, people start looking for answers. They look at his team. They look at his coaches. They start asking, is Bannon the problem? Is he too comfortable? Is he too passive? But here's the irony. The people asking those questions are the same people who praised Bannon for 15 years. The same people who called him the unsung hero of Rory's success. The same people who said Rory was lucky to have such a stable, loyal coach. Now they're turning on him. Because that's what happens when a champion struggles. The finger-pointing begins. And Rory himself? He's not helping. Every time he adds a new voice to his team, Faxon, Rotella, Cowen, it looks like he's distancing himself from Bannon. Even when he says otherwise, the optics are bad. So the rumor spreads. Not because it's true, but because it fits a narrative of a desperate player, a crumbling team, and a coach who's been left behind. But here's the part that scares me more than any rumor. If the split did happen, even for a moment, it would have been a disaster for Rory's Open chances. And the fact that so many people believed it tells you exactly how fragile the golf world thinks Rory's game really is. Now let's talk about the Open, because that's what this is really about. Royal Birkdale, the final major of the season, the one that every player dreams of winning. For Rory, it's personal. He won his first Open there in 2014. The memory of that victory still burns bright. He knows the course, he knows the wind, he knows what it takes. But he also knows the pressure. This year, he's coming in with questions hanging over his head. Questions about his form, questions about his putting, and now, questions about his coach. Even though Bannon is still there, the rumor alone is a distraction. Every journalist will be asking about it. Every commentator will be speculating, and Rory will have to answer the same question 100 times. Is there any truth to the split rumors? That's not ideal preparation. That's not how you win a major. But here's the thing. Rory has always performed best when he's angry, when he's doubted, when people write him off. He thrives on proving people wrong. Remember 2014? He won 2 majors that year after critics said he was too inconsistent. Remember 2019? He came back from a disastrous 2018 to win the Players' Championship and nearly win the Masters. He has a habit of rising when the noise gets loudest. So maybe this rumor, false as it is, could be the motivation he needs. Maybe hearing the golf world write off his partnership with Bannon will light a fire under him. Maybe he'll walk onto the first tee at Birkdale with something to prove. But that's the big question, isn't it? Will the rumor push him to greatness or pull him into the abyss? We'll find out in just a few days. Let me give you my honest take. And remember, this is just my opinion, but I've watched enough golf to see the patterns. I think Rory McIlroy is going to be just fine. Not because the rumor is false, not because Bannon is still there, but because Rory has always been a fighter, and fighters don't let rumors distract them from the prize. But here's the catch. The fact that this rumor took off, the fact that so many people believed it, tells me something deeper is going on. It tells me that the golf world is losing faith, not in Rory's talent, but in his ability to close the deal. And that's a dangerous thing, because when a player feels like the world has given up on him, it can creep into his subconscious. It can make him press. It can make him doubt. That's the real enemy. Not Michael Bannon, not a false rumor. It's the shadow of doubt that follows Rory around every major championship. He's been here before. He's won 5 majors. He knows how to win, but he also knows how to lose. And the more people talk about Bannon, the more they feed that doubt. So here's what I think. The Open will be won or lost, not by a coach, but by what's inside Rory McIlroy's head. If he stays calm, stays focused, and ignores the noise, he's got a real shot at number 6. If he lets the rumor get to him, it could be another disappointing finish. Do you agree? Or do you think the split rumor is a sign of something bigger? Drop your take in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. So where does this leave us? The split didn't happen. Michael Bannon is still Rory's coach. The rumor was fake. But the fact that so many people believed it tells us everything about the state of Rory's career. He's at a point where every move is scrutinized. Every change is seen as a crisis. Every whisper becomes a headline. That's the price of being a legend in the making. And Bannon, he's still there, quietly working, quietly shaping, quietly being the foundation he's always been. He doesn't care about the rumors. He cares about the swing. And right now, he's doing everything he can to make sure that swing is ready for Birkdale. If Rory wins, the rumors will be forgotten. If he loses, they'll come back with a vengeance. That's the nature of sports media. They build you up, they tear you down, and they move on to the next story. But for Rory, the story isn't over. It's just beginning. He's got a chance to silence the doubters once and for all. A chance to prove that he's still the best player in the world. A chance to add that 6th major to his collection. And Bannon will be right there beside him, just like he has been for 15 years. One thing's for sure, if that partnership ever does end, it won't be quiet. It won't be a rumor. And it won't be days before the Open. Thanks for sticking with me. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button. I'll be back with more deep dives as the Open unfolds. And don't forget to let me know in the comments, do you think Rory wins number 6 at Birkdale? Or is this just another false dawn? See you in the next one.